If there is one Premier League player that always stood out to me, in my entire years of me watching Premier League football, it would have to be none other than Nemanja Vidic. That's right, because today people just will not realize just how good Nemanja Vidic was. Like, if you're basically a Premier League fan that started watching football, like, say, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, then, you probably never heard of the name Nemanja Vidic before. And that's what I want to tell you people about today, because if there is one Premier League player that I always had tremendous amount of respect for, it would have to be Nemanja Vidic. Like, people just don't understand today just how good Nemanja Vidic was, from 15 years ago, because I still remember the days of watching Nemanja Vidic and Rio Ferdinand, together lining up on the same side together. Like, I personally think that there will not be any better Premier League center back duo in the 21st century than the duo of Ferdinand and Vidic. Like, that duo right there was absolutely scary good, especially Nemanja Vidic, man, because the thing about Nemanja Vidic is that, I don't understand why people are basically trying to compare Vidic to Van Dijk. Like, I personally think that the Vidic and Van Dijk comparisons are absolutely ridiculous. Now, this is just my opinion, hey, if you want to compare it, go right ahead. It personally doesn't bother me at all, because, hey, we're all entitled to our own opinion, all that stuff, but I just think that comparing Van Dijk and Vidic is kind of ridiculous, if you ask me, just because, Van Dijk did not start being a world-class defender until his late 20s, until his late 20s, while Vidic was really good for a center back, especially in his early to mid 20s. Like, Vidic was already a couple of steps ahead of Van Dijk, and, Van Dijk today is a player that I also have a lot of respect for too, because, I actually really like, Van Dijk as well, because if there's one Premier League player today that I really like, enjoy watching with, when it comes to the games, it would have to be Van Dijk, because let's be honest, I'm not trying to, discredit Van Dijk here at all. He's another great defender too. His defending right now is world class and just top notch. But I just personally think that Vidic was just on a whole nother level, because, the thing about Nemanja Vidic, what I really liked about Nemanja Vidic was that he was that type of defender that didn't care, who had the ball. He would go after the ball, and he gave his all today. And that's what you really have to admire about Nemanja Vidic, because I am convinced today that in terms of today's Premier League standards and transfer standards, I think that if Vidic played today in his prime, he would have been worth at least 100 million for a center back, like 100 to 120 million. That's how much I think Vidic would have been worth today, if he played football today in his prime, because that just goes to show you just how crazy good Vidic was. And what made Vidic a really good center back was, he really put a lot of fear into opposing attackers and strikers. You have to be a really good center back to be able to put fear into opposing strikers and into opposing front attackers, and I think that nobody did it better than Nemanja Vidic. Now, the thing about Nemanja Vidic is that, he was part of Manchester United's and Sir Alex's, legendary 2008 Champions League winning squad. And in the final, man, Vidic, he gave off a really good performance, because with Nemanja Vidic, Manchester United, they made it to 3 Champions League finals, where unfortunately they lost 2 of them against a really good Barca team. But I still think that should not take away the fact of just how insanely good and how incredibly talented Vidic was, because, I think it was Van Persie who once said, if Vidic puts his head where other defenders are scared to put their foot on where other players are scared to put their foot on the ball. So that just goes to show you just how crazy good Nemanja Vidic was in his prime, Now, despite him having that same level of success with Manchester United, unfortunately, Vidic did not have that same level of success with Serbia's football team, because I feel like that Vidic just didn't have a good team around him, like how he did at Manchester United, because I think that Vidic probably would have been very successful with Serbia on the international level if he had that same level of talent, with Serbia, like how he did with Manchester United, And what always shocks me about, football decisions and retirements is why Nemanja Vidic retired from Serbia's football team in his prime, because I feel like that ever since Vidic retired, I think that the biggest thing that's been holding Serbia's football team back, in the past couple of tournaments, well, from the time that, Vidic retired, is just them not having a good solid rock in their back for, like how they did with Nemanja Vidic, even though Vidic, yes, he did underperform with Serbia's football team, because I've been doing my research actually on this, but, I'm wondering if there's still more as to why Vidic retired from Serbia's football team, because, Vidic apparently retired because he was tired of, the fans' criticism and all that stuff, and that's why he apparently retired from Serbia's football team in 2011, despite him still being in his prime, And I think that a lot of it comes down to just, not being able, having the desire to handle the pressure on the international levels, because maybe he just, couldn't handle the pressure of playing on the international level, because, I think that the pressure of playing football on the international level is kind of different compared to club football, So that probably explains why Vidic decided to make the choice to retire from Serbia's football team. But man, I'm just thinking to myself, what could have been of Serbia's football team, even though they did qualify for the World Cup? I always think to myself, could Serbia's football team have had even better success if Vidic had stayed with the team? Because you look at Serbia's football team recently, they recently have had a pretty crazy pool of talent. From Kostic to Milinkovic Savic to Mitrovic to who else? Who else am I missing? I'm trying to think. Oh, yeah, Vlahovic as well. The emergence of Vlahovic right there. Like, it just goes to show you right now that Serbia's football team could be experiencing a golden generation, with the crazy recent emergence of talent that they have, with that emergence right there of talent. They can really, I think, go a long way at the World Cup in Qatar. Could they be on the same level of success as Croatia or no? Because you look at Croatia, they did really well at the World Cup. So I'm wondering if Serbia is going to follow the same path as Croatia's football team, So only time will tell. But going back to Nemanja Vidic, man, he basically came to Manchester United from CSK Moscow, I believe. Was it CSK Moscow or was it Zenit St. Petersburg? I forgot, but I just know that he played in the Russian league, and then he came there from those clubs. Okay, sorry if you hear that. That's a helicopter. Yeah, that's a helicopter flying over my house. But anyways, going back to the main video here. So I think that, Vidic definitely came to the Premier League from the Russian league, and then, because in the Russian league, he apparently caught the eye of Sir Alex Ferguson. And, when he came to Manchester United, it was there that he just established a crazy legacy of just winning, I think, 5 Premier League titles, winning Premier League Player of the Year for a defender, which is absolutely crazy. Like, I'm trying to figure out how was Vidic never a Ballon d'Or nominee, because I looked back at his highlights and I think to myself, man, I think that for a defender, this guy could have definitely won the Ballon d'Or. Like, I'm not even capping. I think that Nemanja Vidic was so good for a defender. I think he could have won the Ballon d'Or. That would have been crazy to see him for a Premier League defender to win a Ballon d'Or, especially since he won, Premier League Player of the Year awards and all that stuff. So, man, just going back, just goes to show you that Manchester United losing Vidic right now, was a big downgrade, because, it seems like Manchester United's back four hasn't really been the same, ever since Ferdinand and Vidic retired. Because last time Ferdinand and Vidic had a really good back four, last time Manchester United had a really good back four was, with the duo of Ferdinand and Vidic, because recently, it seemed like that in the past couple of years, they've been struggling to fill in the void, in terms of having defenders that can really be really consistent, not just defenders that have a good game in one game, then the next 3 games, they just absolutely, underperform, because I think that would not have been the case with Ferdinand and with Vidic if they were still playing for United. Because, man, I sometimes watch Nemanja Vidic's highlights on YouTube, and I think to myself, man, that guy was the definition of giving it all. He didn't care who had the ball. If you just had the ball, just expect Vidic to be in your way if you were facing him, and he would just basically go after the ball like no other day. Like, seriously, man, it was just absolutely impressive being able to see Vidic. So, you really just have to appreciate, just the crazy impact that Nemanja Vidic brought to the game of football, just with his crazy work ethic, just with his ability to win the ball back. Like, that was impressive right there. Seriously, like, I wish that more people nowadays knew who Nemanja Vidic was, because, me being a football fan, since 2008, I watched Vidic play, and let me tell you, that guy, he was on a whole nother level. Like, that guy was the definition of, being a complete defender, just a guy that would just, bring a lot of passion to the game, a guy that would give it his all. Like, it's kind of rare nowadays to find a Premier League defender like that, like how you did with Vidic, like, that was just pretty impressive. You just gotta tell yourself that, man, that Vidic guy, he was something special. So, I just think, I think I already addressed in this video just how good, insanely Nemanja Vidic was, just him being able just to, shut down an opposing lanes, and him just being able to do these crazy tackles and win the ball back. Like, it takes a special, amount of talent to be able to do that, like what Nemanja Vidic did for Manchester United from 2006 and 2014. So, ladies and gents, that's the video here. Let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. And if you have any of your own memorable games with Nemanja Vidic for Manchester United, then please let me know in the comment section below, and let's have a football discussion. Peace.